computer. Here I go. Did it work? Yes. Hello, thank you for joining us today. I'm Emily Salem, the Director of Educational Partnerships with Dovetail Learning, here to talk about 3 quick tools to build staff resilience, assuming that we're in an educational setting, but it could be any staff, frankly, the tools that I've selected to work with today. A little bit about Dovetail Learning. Our mission statement is that we envision a world where everyone learns how to be the best possible version of themselves in the moment and continues to grow and learn together, and show up in a way that they are proud, I suppose, is where I like to say that better. Anyone want to put in the chat how they're feeling today? There's some funny animals up here. I am feeling like number 5, the raccoon, just like, hey, how's it going? I'm so glad you're here. Nice to see you. Just thinking about how our own state of being is impacting us right now. I'm with one. Oh no, hitting a tree. I'm so sorry. That is an amazing photograph. I'm also a photographer. I did not take these pictures, but I just love the emotion they evoke. And part of what we teach is about emotional intelligence, just noticing ourselves, being with ourselves, understanding how we're feeling, why we're feeling it. Yes, so hi, I'm glad to see you here today. Thanks for joining us. A little bit about me. I am a former kindergarten teacher and elementary principal, and I have a wonderful partner, and we love to travel in Mexico. My parents are aging and all that brings. I have cats. I'm a photographer. I got through COVID doing yoga outside, and I have a 5-year-old sweet grand. So just a little context about me, my cultural patterns. We talk about patterns in a moment. So in schools, you'll often see the PBIS letters telling us to be safe, be responsible, be respectful. We like to teach children that it's important to be safe, be responsible, be respectful. We invite a slight shift in that language to we are safe, we are responsible, we are respectful, and let me get my head out of the way, and we are resilient. So the we are, why is that? It really makes it about the team. It makes it about us. It makes it about something that I, as the adult, am doing also, right? It's so important that we don't tell kids what to do, but we do it with them because they do what we do, right? They copy us. So we have our whole model put in practice model coach. So practicing it yourself first so that you can model it to help others, including children, learn from you, and then coaching others through it. So as a former school administrator, I look at this really as I'm modeling it for my staff. If I'm a teacher, I'm modeling it for my students. So this is an approach to well-being because children and adults around you learn more from what you are than what you teach, right? So today we're going to talk about what is resilience, a tiny intro to the We Are Resilient approach, just so you have context, a little bit about what gets in the way, our protective patterns, and centering skills. We'll talk about 2. So this is really 3 tips, but it's really 4 because I had to throw an extra one in there. So noticing myself and breathing, the resilient mindset of choice, and then we'll talk about 1 collaborating skill, which is seeking agreements. And then I'll share some resources with you. This whole tool, this whole approach is built around open educational resources. So there's so much stuff on our website, so many free resources and downloads and books and videos because it's shared in the Creative Commons. You can use and share and save the world. Okay. So what is resilience? Resilience is the ability to adapt and respond to meet changes effectively. Our resilience will be higher or lower in different situations. Like if I wake up with a terrible headache, that is going to be a day that I am much less resilient. But like today, I woke up refreshed and happy, and so my resilience feels higher. It is higher and lower depending on the day. I'm moving out of the way. Our resilience can be strengthened through the practice of our skills. It helps us handle the uncertainties of life. We talk about the awareness, mindsets, and skills that support the development of ourselves so that we can contribute to our family, school, workplace, community, and to the world. So I'm going to take you on the journey of what the whole model entails, this model of well-being and approach. We start with patterns. We have protective patterns that are the things that we do under stress, and cultural patterns. And those patterns together help us, and they define how we view and react to the world. We then talk about mindsets and resilient mindsets, curiosity, courage, and choice. And these are how we strengthen our attitudes and behavior. And then we present 3 separate sets of skills. Get out of the way of the slide. Centering, connecting, and collaborating. How we create our world, right? So we have skills that are just centering for myself, connecting with one other person, and then collaborating in a larger group. So I'm going to give you the 30-second tour of the 6 protective patterns that we've identified. Distrusting, doubting or being critical of yourself or of others, just not being able to fully engage because you're just wary, not sure. Hypervigilance is seeing potential danger everywhere. Hyper caretaking is over prioritizing others to the detriment of yourself. I always say, do you know a teacher, anyone, or a mom? Right? Those are people who are always having a hard time taking care of themselves first, but we really have to. The next protective pattern is avoiding, just completely not engaging with something that causes us stress, or when we're feeling vulnerable, just walking away. Getting defensive, defending by digging in your heels to self-protect, or attacking. So those are all ways that we can protect ourselves when we feel unsafe or vulnerable. And they're protective, they help us, right? But they also can get in the way. But it's important to note that every human being has impeccable reasons for behaving exactly as they do, because of their context, because of their protective patterns, their cultural patterns, all the things that come together into the human experience of me right now affect how I show up. So, what strengthens our resilience? We have 3 resilient mindsets: curiosity, choice, and courage. I love curiosity. We're not talking about it today, but how am I being? What don't I know about you? What don't I know about the situation? How am I being? What is my part in this? Both of those are important. What do I not know about you? What do I not understand yet about myself? Choice is, what empowering choice can I make? And courage, what kind of person do I want to be? So choice is really seeing something, assessing what's going to happen, what I'm going to do, how I'm going to respond, and then deciding what I'm going to do. And I love this slide, this picture, because of the little guy in the middle. Between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. And in our response lies our growth and our freedom. So I think about this story, this choice story, and I think about a time really recently for myself Um, I mentioned my parents are aging and having things, parents that are aging have things. And my dad called and said, they're an hour and 5 minutes from my house. My dad called and said, your mom's having that women's group at our house tomorrow. Can you come up and help clean? And I, of course, jumped in the car and started to drive up. And then I realized that I was grumbling and saying, "Meh, meh, meh." So I decided that I had a choice to respond in that way, that grumbly way, because I was going to do it. It's just the right thing to do. And in my relationship with my parents, it's how I wanted to do it. But I had to figure out that I wanted to do it. And I had to figure out that it was important to me. And I had to say, okay, so how am I going to use this opportunity as a connection, as a way to deepen my relationship with my parents? So I had an hour and well, probably an hour by the time I figured out I wasn't upset, to come up with some really good questions to ask them that I'd never asked them before. Tell me about how your mom parented you. Tell me about the way that you grew up, and just random questions that I thought of as I was driving. And so while we were cleaning, I asked questions and I learned more and I connected more with my parents. And because I made that choice, my stress level was down. I still had to drive both ways, I still had to do the helping, but I got to, right? I chose, instead of saying I have to, I chose to say I get to. So that makes all the difference. All right, so that there are three mindsets. That's one of them that I'm giving you as a quick tip. So how could you use that with a staff? I have to go to a meeting. I get to go. Can you imagine? I don't know if you're in special education or you know much about special education. Can you imagine saying, I'm so excited I get to go to an IEP meeting and learn about this student and how I can support them better? Doesn't that change it from the way I was raised with my parents both as educators that say, I have a stupid meeting after school? So it's that choice of how to model that, internalize it, practice it, and then model it for others around you. We are not talking about these centering skills today, but I wanted you to see them. Excuse me, we are talking about the centering skills. We're not talking about the next set. Get all kaboobulated here. So today we're going to talk just about the first two, noticing myself and breathing mindfully. All these are science-based ways to help ourselves center. So noticing myself has this goofy tagline, pause, what's the cause? Ask yourself, if something's feeling off, what am I noticing, sensing, feeling? Is it in my gut? Is it in my shoulders? Is it in my eyes? Where am I feeling something? What emotions am I feeling? What words am I saying to myself? And what reactions am I experiencing? So I had a team lead tell me this in a training this week, that she was meeting with another staff member and she felt herself get defensive. She felt her shoulders go up. She felt herself lean into the conversation and feel like she was going to be defensive. And instead of saying anything about how she was, what she wanted to say in defense of what she had done, she instead said, hold on, I'm feeling defensive. She said this out loud to her other teammate who's also in this training. Hang on, I'm feeling defensive. I wonder what you said that made me feel that way. Let me think for a moment. Oh, you said this. Did it really? Do you see me that way? Because if you do, I want to work on that behavior. So it was just a really clear noticing for her that she has these intelligent emotions in her reactions. So jumping to it, reacting immediately, instead, just taking a moment, pause, what's the cause? Thinking about what these emotional signals mean to us. Anger means an important boundary or value has been violated. Joy signals what I value and love. Frustration, my expectations are not being met. Annoyed, something is bothering me. Or satisfied, I met my own expectations or goals. So these are just examples of emotional signals. Emotional intelligence is the intelligence of our emotions. I love that we are feeling creatures that think, but we are feeling creatures first. So much more we could go into, but here are some micro practices for noticing, just practicing making space. If you're in the shower, just noticing how you're feeling about the day. If it's a morning shower, what's going to come today? How does that make me feel? If it's an evening shower, reflecting on the day. How did I show up today? What am I noticing about myself? If I'm making coffee in the morning, sometimes I don't use the fancy coffee maker. I just do a pour over because I love how I have to wait 3 or 4 minutes as I slowly drip the coffee through, and it helps me think about all that I need to think about in myself. Um, when I need to notice myself, if I have an attitude or if I'm feeling off or if I'm noticing or using a protective pattern or if I give myself a compliment. So I just need to practice those things, practice those things, practice those things. And I love micro practices because it just has to become embedded in your day, embedded in your experience. Because if it's a big giant task, I don't often do it myself. All right, so we're going to lean into breathing mindfully as our next skill. And the curiosity question is, ask yourself, where in my body do I feel my breath? Do I feel it in my throat? Do I feel it in my chest? Do I feel it in my belly? If I'm feeling stressed, what do I feel? How do I make myself calm? How does conscious breathing impact me? I remember being a kindergarten teacher and being so frustrated with a student more than one time, I'm sure. um, and I would just stop and breathe just for a minute. And I could feel myself relax. I could feel my shoulders falling. I could feel my mind clearing because I might have had steam coming out of my ears otherwise. But just breathing helps us calm and learn to trust ourselves. And there's a ton of science behind this. But here are some micro practices. Breathing mindfully at every stop sign or stoplight. Making sure you're doing a whole breath in your chest, throat, chest, belly. You could consider doing box breathing, which is 4, breathe in for 4, and then hold it for 4, and then breathe out for 4, and then hold it for 4. Just some way that you're only thinking about breathing. When the Dovetail team meets, we always have a mindful breathing practice at the beginning of a meeting. We always start with 3 full breaths, and we choose to have our eyes closed if we want to. And it just allows us to come into the space together and be present. And then anytime I feel myself getting tense, sometimes people who have a crazy work life and a crazy home life, they just sit in their driveway for a minute and breathe, to take off the work hat and to put on the home hat. Just give themselves a moment. I do this one a lot to help me fall asleep. Like I can't sleep, I can't sleep, I can't sleep. Instead of thinking about I can't sleep, I think about breathe in for 4, hold for 4, breathe out for 4, hold for 4. And then suddenly I'm not counting anymore, I'm asleep. I had a nurse in a training this week and she said that she did some research, and if we breathe mindfully before we eat, we soothe our vagus nerve, which helps to support our digestion. So I think that's brilliant also. I'm going to mute you. So just ways that we can use micro practices as they're appropriate for breathing. welcome. Looks like I have the same slide twice. So these are the connecting skills I mentioned. We're not going to talk about any of them today, but I wanted you to see what they are. Noticing others is just as important as noticing self. Heartfelt listening, empathizing, choosing kindness, and speaking authentically. Then we go into the collaborating skills of noticing group. What does it feel like in the room when you walk in? Appreciating others, seeking agreements and honoring agreements, and then contributing intentionally. So we'll talk today about seeking agreements, being curious. What explicit agreements do we need so we can work well together and achieve our purpose? This could be a family question. This could be a work context question. What agreements do we need so we can work well together and achieve our purpose? Any assumed agreements? Are there things that I think should happen, but I haven't said because then when they get violated, I get frustrated and I never told you I expected that? That happens in my relationship more than I'm proud to say. And then how do I seek and name agreements? How do I understand what's going on and how to seek agreements? I'm just letting someone into the waiting room. Welcome, we're recording this, so I thought I'd leave cameras off and we can come back on when we're in the Q&A section at the end. So the tagline for seeking agreements is same page, same chapter, same book, because it's important for us to be together. Why are my slides doing that? Seeking agreements. What are my assumed agreements not stated? What agreements are missing? What agreements would help? How do we achieve our purpose together? And how do I seek and name agreements to support our co-creating, right? We are not, if we're running a school, we're not doing it by ourselves. We have a whole team alongside us to co-create. So thinking about the curiosity piece being about a purpose and a task, what do we need to get done? And who will do it and how will they do it? But then also the culture and dynamics, how are we going to be together? So it takes time, excuse me, I went too fast. It takes time to get to that. Sometimes it takes an hour as a team to come up with agreements of how to honor each other and how to show up and what's expected. But I bet you if there's something going on with a group of people, it's because someone has an expectation that someone else doesn't know about, or that no one ever made agreements and someone violated an assumed agreement. It's just so important. So how are you seeking agreements? We're not going to do breakout rooms right now. Are you assuming things? Are you judging people because you assumed that they knew that that was your expectation? Just thinking about how important that is. So here are the micro practices for this skill. Create agreements with your team. Working well requires that everyone agrees how to be together and what we need to do and how we will do it. I love this one. Viewing misunderstandings as opportunities to seek agreements. So the other day I said, okay, you just said something and I think that you meant this, but I'm not sure. Can we have an agreement about what will look like at the end of the day, what we're going to have done by the end of the day? Let's just make sure that as a team, I know what I'm supposed to do and you know what you're supposed to do and that we agree to hold each other accountable for those things. So same page, same chapter, same book. You'll get these slides and this recording, but here's a free newsletter for stories and updates. On our website, you can download free resources, watch other webinars, take a training, become a coach. We just recently in August published a book called The Heart of Resilience. It's quite fun. It's available on Amazon and our website. And I mentioned that everything is open educational resource, right? We also just started a Substack. It's an advice column called Ms. Resilient and Curious Christy, and it's quite a fun read. You can use this QR code to sign up for that. So with that, I'm going to turn off the recording.